through the sand like a thought in disguise. The scarab spins truth where the cosmos collide. Energy whispers, it never says goodbye. The Beatles crawl, the Beatles rise.
Go to AmericanHealer.website now. Get the tools for health and inspiration the way God intended.
Sort of burst the chaos, yet the chaos rise. My name Beatles, 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 over and over, spinning the world in the grip of their shoulders. Beatles, 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 under and over, rolling through time till the blackness is sober. The heat fades lower, the order begins. The stillness so perfect, it hums from within. The void sings softly, entropy takes a bow. In the shadow of silence, the scarab knows how. The second law is dancing, feeding life through decay. The third law holds the promise that the stillness will stay. Beatles, 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 under and over, rolling through time till the blackness is sober.
Go to AmericanHealer.website now. Get the tools for health and inspiration the way God intended.
Peace to the peace to the family. Let's get this thing together. Let's get this thing together.
These recipes all look crazy.
Yeah, and I'm definitely grateful to collab with Ink. Like he's been, sort of like.
In the Lord, with no line going by. Oh, know that I am loved by. In the Lord, with no line going by. Oh, know that I am loved by. And we give thanks and praise to the Most High God for the divine spark that set ourselves into perpetual motion. We give thanks for the magnetism of the Most Holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry boats of light 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and caves. We give thanks for your ability to drink clean water every 60 minutes, flooding the river of life. We give thanks that sugar has not covered our ferry and turn them into stone. We give thanks that darkness has not covered the riverbanks with calcium and turn them into stone. We give thanks that anger and fear have not turned our almonds bitter, turning our heart to stone. We give thanks for smooth sailing upstream through the valley of death, through the superior vena cava into the right atrium. We give thanks for smooth sailing around the heart through the corona crown, joining the vortex in the right atrium. Yeah. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodashim. We give thanks for the mechanic predictors when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodashim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opening a pathway to the vineyard. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the lunar gate to the vineyard closes. We give thanks to the Most High God that provides the light and our breath and the system that makes our grapes ripe alike. We give thanks for the jet pillar that provides us with a stable fleet of ferry boats to darken our vineyard. We give thanks for smooth sailing through the pulmonary vein into the storm of the left atrium. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodashim. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodashim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opens a pathway into the holy royal arch of the Waceptra. Give thanks for the magnetism of the most holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry boats alive 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and caves. Amen.
All right. So let's start off with a quick question. I just want to give somebody, I just want to give y'all a quick utility. Somebody in the chat, give me a favorite food, like a favorite bean, vegetable, fruit, something like that, a favorite plant to eat. Okay, so let's do pigeon peas real quick. Let's just see what we get. This is just a quick utility. And when I say a quick utility, remember I always say that the search engine's only good if you know what you're looking for. So we're going to use this as a compass. This is going to be our map real quick. And we're going to take Tika's pigeon peas, and we're going to see what the Google demons say. Does pigeon peas have alkaloids? You see how this works? Do you see how this works when you know what you're looking for? When you know what you're looking for, this is how this works. This is how a doctor approaches things. It's not that a doctor is an X-Man and they got some hidden superpower where they're gonna go into no. When they're going through school, they're learning certain phrases, certain terms, certain terminology. So in a given situation, instead of panic setting in, they know, okay, let's look for this, 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 and this. And if we see this, then we can go to this. If we see this, then we can go to this. Because remember, when it comes to healthcare, it's all probability. It all comes down to math. That's all healthcare is probability, period. That's the language that doctors speak. They speak the language of probability. So that's why we have the book. Okay, we're a couple minutes in. Y'all know I'm already looking for a book to reference. Right? The probability book is somewhere around here. Right? You need to have that probability book. Jad Pillar, Ebers Papyrus. I don't know. I can't find it. But you need that book.
It's the moment on the truth. I will live forever in my youth. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm a vibe, I'm a feel. I did the impossible, the unreal is real. Nobody's stopping me. A motor through intellectual property behind the lights, behind the.
All right. So you need that probability book so you can learn the language that doctors speak in. Everything is probabilities. There are no certainties, right? If you saw me last night, I was on Sanetta's channel. I was supposed to be having an interview, but it turned out to just be getting jumped over there, but it was fun. But one of the things that we went back and forth on is the question of, is math a actual science or not? Or is math a tool of science, or is science math? Or, the bottom line, though, is math is the only thing that uses proof. It is the only thing that works in absolutes. There are no scientific disciplines that work in absolutes. Take the dog, sir. But there are no scientific disciplines that work in absolutes. That means it is built into the framework of healthcare, medicine, surgery, anything associated, technology, building a laptop, like any sort of science is built into the framework that there are no certainties, there are no guarantees. Everything is based on probability, right? And the idea is to get the probability as high as possible, right? To get the probability as high as possible. So that's what you do in terms of naturopathy, right? And that's the primary reason, I believe, from all of the evidence presented, that RFK is making a push to get nutrition into medical school as a primary source of therapy and prevention, because you change a lot of the variables, right? You're able to change a lot of the variables. So anyway, let's go back to what I'm showing you, this utility, real quick. Yeah, talk heavy, talk heavy. So just to get this utility, right? So just to get this utility, right? Now that you know what you're looking for, this is how you explore, your favorite dishes or whatever you're trying to do in terms of nutrition for medicinal or therapeutic property. Now, when you get the book is going to offer you 1,000 million trillion billion more cheat codes and advantages to understanding food as medicine. Plant genetics is unlike any other book ever written on the planet, right? At least in our time, right? So anyway, we just typed in a simple question: does pigeon peas have alkaloids? Right? Answer: yes, pigeon peas contains alkaloids along with other anti-nutritional factors like tannins and saponins, which are generally present in lower amounts and significantly reduced by traditional cooking methods such as soaking and boiling. These compounds, including alkaloids, can inhibit nutrient absorption, but are mostly removed lessened by processing, making cooked pigeon peas a safe and nutritious food source. Presence: alkaloids are listed as naturally occurring anti-nutrients in pigeon pea seeds. Now, mind you, alkaloids, as we read yesterday, is over 12,000 different known substances so far, right? So we can't undervalue that number, right? And what I mean by that is you'll look some places, alkaloids will be, spoken down on. You'll look some other places, alkaloids will be cherished and treasured as life-saving agents, right? But you just want to know, right? You want to know, right? So, okay, so now we see here, and then also tannins and saponins, right? Let's look up tannins, because if you look up tannins, right? Yeah, let us get another page so we can have a counter conversation. Now, look. On one page, it says tannins are an anti-nutrient. I'm just giving you an example so you see. And we go here to the next search. It says tannins offer powerful antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial effects, protecting cells from damage, reducing inflammation, fighting pathogens, which supports heart, gut, and brain health, potentially lowering risk for chronic disease like cancer and diabetes by improving blood sugar, cholesterol, and gut bacteria balance, right? Found in tea, wines, fruits, nuts. They act as a natural astringent for the skin, helping blood clotting and boosting sustainable practice. So again, I'm just giving you an example, right? So that way you don't get caught up in the term anti-nutrient, right? I don't want you to get caught up in the term anti-nutrient, right? Wait a minute, let's go back over here. Let's look up what are tannins. Right? So now if you look up tannins, you see tannins are phenolics, right? So we looked up alkaloids and phenolics was also referenced, right? And mind you, these are referenced as anti-nutrients, right? So John Q. Public, without this information, would never know where to find the medicinal compounds because John Q. Public is not going to search for these items. That's number one. Number two, if John Q. Public searches for these things and sees that it says it's an anti-nutrient, John Q. Public is done. Boop. Close the book, stop the search, end of story, right? They would never be able to understand, how a pharmaceutical company would turn around and make millions, billions, or trillions of dollars off of these things, or even a nutraceutical company, which is a pharmaceutical company that is now into selling and repackaging herbs, vitamins, and minerals. Right? All right. But these are the things that you're getting when you're having your fruits and your veggies. These are the things that are in your fruits, veggies, and grains that make them nutritious, that make them healthy, that increase the longevity in terms of lifespan. All right, so let's keep cooking. Alkaloids. Let's go to terpenoids. Right? Because pigeon peas has terpenoids. Yes. Along with other beneficial phytochemicals like flavonoids, tannins, and saponins. Full stop right there. This is another example of what I'm saying about being able to surf through the gobbledygook. Do you see this? Along with other beneficial phytochemicals like flavonoids, which is new, right? We haven't seen that yet, but tannins and saponins was just listed as anti-nutrients. Yo, I can't make this stuff up. Look, let's go back. Along with other anti-nutritional factors like tannins and saponins, right? This is why I'm saying you have to have this knowledge. This is what you're paying for. This is what you're paying for when you go to a doctor, when you go to a pharmacy, you're paying for them to take you through the weeds, right? Because any medication can be beneficial or it can be dangerous. It's about how you use it, right? That's kind of the nature of chemistry, right? That's kind of the nature of chemistry, right? That's kind of the nature of chemistry. So again, it's a matter of what you're doing, how much you're doing, when you're doing, right? What, when, how, the 5 W's, right? Who, what, where, when, why, and how, right? Who comes into place with you, your individual needs, your individual goals, your individual situation, right? When is frequency, right? When is frequency? How much, right? When are you doing it? How often, right? Why, right? That goes back to the who, right? The what is what type of chemical, what isotope, what form, what source, right? All of these things come into play, right? So know that herbs aren't any different. Herbs are a lot less reactive, right? But they're not, natural doesn't mean not dangerous. Natural does not mean not dangerous. Natural doesn't even mean not poisonous. A lot of people see natural and automatically assume that natural means healthy. There are just as many poisons and toxins in nature as there are nutrients, right? And then to add more confusion, right? More twist and turn to the maze, the nutrients can become toxic or anti-nutrients if used incorrectly, if used indiscriminately, right? So having a pain in your side and then deciding, oh, you know what I need? Yeah, I need to get me one of them detoxes. Or not having a bowel movement in a week and go, oh yeah, I need to get me one of them detoxes. Like, sure, there's a probability. There's a possibility. I'm not even going to say probability. There's a possibility that you can improve some things that way, right? But there's also a possibility that you can cause yourself more of a problem when you don't know what it is that you're doing. So this is why we have the books. This is why we have the classes. This is why the president of the United States is is making this the law. Yeah, trolling. Yeah. All right. So I just want to show y'all this, how here it's an anti-nutrient, and here it says terpenoids, along with other beneficial phytochemicals like flavonoids, tannins, and saponins, which contribute to their various medicinal properties. We're going to rewind that back. Various medicinal properties, including antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and antimicrobial effects, though their presence and concentration can vary between plant parts like leaves, seeds, and roots, right? That is another reason why we kind of want to learn a little more about the plant genetics, right? There's a brother out there, right? There's a brother out there who used to be I guess my student in many ways, right? A friend in other ways. And he tried to attack one of my products, right? Talking about deuterium. And he didn't understand his product line, right? And so the thing about deuterium is that deuterium concentrates in the roots of herbs, right? So if you use roots, right, like yellow dock and things like that, those are things that are potentially very high in deuterium. So you can't speak down on deuterium and high on yellow dock or root herbs in general, right? And of course, they're not all the same, right? Of course, they're not all the same. But that is a prime example of understanding these compounds, right? Understanding these compounds and how they vary plant to plant, and then not just plant to plant, but part to part, right? Because you might read that something is happening in the leaves of a plant. That doesn't mean that process is present, or those chemicals or compounds are present throughout the entire plant. They may be isolated just to the leaves. The roots of that plant may have a completely different chemistry, or the chemistry may be the same because it's still a part of the plant, but the ratios, right, and the amounts of the compounds vary so much that it might as well be a totally different chemistry. Right? It might as well be a totally different chemistry. All right, so let's keep going. Presence confirmed, blah, 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 scientific analysis, bioactive compounds in pigeon pea leaves, right? Now, mind you, let me say this. Pigeon peas are similar to chickpeas. So a lot of what we see and read about chickpeas will also be true about pigeon peas, and a lot of what we see and read about pigeon peas will also be true about chickpeas, right? They're very similar. They're not the same. I'm not making a claim that they're the same, right? But they're similar, because I know a lot of people are into chickpeas, right? Pigeon peas are more nuanced, more cultural, right? All right. Now, we kind of already know the answer to this, but we're going to look at it anyway. Yes, pigeon peas are rich in various health-promoting phenolic compounds, including phenolic acids and flavonoids, right? Now, take a look at one of these, right? Take a look at one of these. Now, this is just one item. You see that? Quercetin. That's just one item, quercetin, right? Let's go over here. Let's create us another. Wait a minute, I done lost y'all. Here we go. Let's create us another page. I want y'all to understand this game right here. All right, I want y'all to get this game. Hold up, man. There we go. Can y'all see that? Do y'all see? Oh, my bad. Look at this. Do y'all see that? I want y'all to see this because this is a look to the future. People missing these videos, they missing a look at the future. I'm giving you a look into the future. I want y'all to see this. I want y'all to get a glimpse into the future. That's quercetin. That's quercetin right there. Right? That's one of the things. That's one of the items that we see right here is in the pigeon peas. Right? So we look here in the pigeon peas, that's one item, right? It's being extracted and then marketed at $6,000 here, $1,200, $500, $300, right? Now, obviously, this is a supply. Let's tap into it and see what they're saying. All right, so this is bulk right here. This is bulk, right? So this is for resale, right? But this is what the market looks like, right? So just know, yes, you can go to the store right now and get you a bottle of quercetin from, I mean, we had this conversation all the time, maybe $5 to $50, depending on the quality and the source of the material, right? Anywhere from $5 to $50, depending on the source of the material. And if you want a quality joint, you probably want to spend somewhere in the $15 to $30 range, right? You don't want to get hit over the back of the head, right? But you don't want to get, you know, crushed rocks either, right? But on the same token, the name of the game is, this is where it's going right here. This is where it's going. Back to the understanding that all of these things are extracted from the plants. All of these things are extracted from the plants. Right? So the idea is, no, these compounds are not in fries from McDonald's. Right? Fries from McDonald's are so delicious that they are very close to crack, heroin. Right? But this is what it comes down to. And if I have to spend a whole hour, a whole week even on this one point, you will have your whole value of not just buying the plant genetics book, but buying all Dr. Inky's books. Your whole tuition will make sense if you just understand this one thing, right? This is what processing looks like. This video right here is already a classic. I already know what I'm saying in this video. We 30 minutes in. This is already a classic video. But because of the title of the video, you know, we might not get support from the algorithm. Let me make sure that let's make sure that we get, hold on. Let's make sure we get all the support that we can from the algorithm. Yeah, we don't click this on, we ain't gonna get no love and support. We gotta get love and support from the algorithm. Go ahead and send that out. Right, okay. But this is what food processing is, right? So I want y'all to get this. These are the categories, the primary categories that medicinal compounds in food, in plants become the food. Plants are the natural food source on the planet, right? Photosynthesis. These are the natural categories that those things come in, the compounds in the plants, right? When you're talking about processed food, right? I want y'all to really like lock this in. The processing means they remove these items, right? This is what processed food means. These items are not gonna, now, remember we looked up alkaloids and there's 12,000 of them. Some of them are good for you, some of them are not, right? So don't automatically assume like if you see something in a junk food or whatever that's a beneficial, like that's, but what I'm saying is these are the items that are processed out. So over the past 5 or 10 years, right? Over the past 5 or 10 years, when you hear me say the pigment and the fiber is what we're supposed to focus on, because in between the pigment and the fiber is where all the nutrients are. This is what I'm talking about. It's not just minerals. Listen to what I'm trying to tell you. All of these people having these outdated, listen, and I don't want to call names, you know what I'm saying? Because y'all know, it's 2026, so I ain't trying to call nobody name out. But listen, I've been through the whole holistic journey myself. So in my younger, not, I ain't even gonna say younger, but in earlier parts of my journey, I also got excited to get one of those old lists that's floating around from the 50s, right? I know you done seen it. I know you know what one of those old lists from the 50s that says, bone, calcium, so you got to get the calcium into the bone, like. And then they got the herb list to go along with the mineral chart. Like, oh yeah, this is the mineral for this. And so go get this plant. This herb is high in calcium. So this is the herb that's going to heal the bones, because the bones is calcium and this herb is calcium. So yeah, that's outdated. That's outdated information. You look crazy. When I watch people teaching that kind of talk, like doing that, it sounds crazy to me. I'd be laughing like, yo, this is fraudulent. This is not science right here. This is not science. It's just not. There are hundreds of thousands of compounds that's in plants. We're going through pigeon peas. Pigeon peas is not on nobody's food list. You're not going to go to Dr. Sabi's food list and see pigeon peas. You're not going to go to nobody following Sabi and see pigeon peas on their food list. But yet, we just seen almost 10 different medicinal compounds that's in pigeon peas. Pigeon peas just traditional Haitian food, right? So obviously, Tika, tell them who she is, right? But it's just pigeon peas. And we already up to almost 10 different medicinal compounds that's in the pigeon peas. And none of these medicinal compounds is magnesium, calcium, iron. Like, yes, your body needs minerals, right? But minerals have a very complex relationship with these guys, right? And when you get them from plants, trust, all of these compounds have minerals intact. That's what literally makes them a compound. A mineral, right, is a slang term when it comes to biochemistry, right? Mineral is not even really a real thing when it comes to biochemistry because your body doesn't use minerals. So it's even levels to that. You know what I'm saying? You got to know in your mind when you're having health conversations that if you're even talking to people that use the term mineral indiscriminately, they don't even know that the human body does not use minerals. Minerals are rocks. Your body doesn't use minerals. Your body uses elements. Minerals are composed of elements, but a mineral is not an element. Elements are what you see on the periodic table. So your blood cells need elemental iron. They don't need iron like on a magnet. If you have metal iron that you consume, you might poison yourself. I just want y'all to understand. So this is what's processed out of the processed food, right? Know that all of these items are in whatever the natural thing is. Or maybe not all, but a good majority and variation of these. That's what makes up our plants. What are y'all doing out there? Stop that. My bad. Right? So, but the other thing is, right? The other key piece is this, right? Yes, these are naturally found in the plants. When they process the food, they remove this stuff, right? But over time, somehow in our conscious programming, right? Somehow in our mind, we've gotten the idea that processing this stuff out of the food means that they somehow throwing it out. They're not throwing it out. It's not going in the trash. It's going to a pharmaceutical company or a nutraceutical company that's going to repackage it, reprocess it, and sell it to you somewhere else. This is why RFK and people such as myself, right, people that are in the know are so passionate, because it's not a secret that the stuff that's in the food that's being taken out of the food is not even like, because even the term nutritious loses some context, right? Because like nobody would consider oxygen nutritious, right? If you don't have oxygen, you die. So you don't consider oxygen a nutrition. That's like you gotta have oxygen. That's how some of these things is. You have to have them. Just like the process of letting millions of people get sick and then figure out, oh, we need to have vitamin. Not letting, let me rephrase that. But people all over the world get sick and then they figure out, oh, this thing here works. Okay, so now we're going to call this vitamin C. Or this thing here works. So now we're going to call this vitamin D. And then if everybody has some every day, that'll keep everybody relatively they won't have those issues, right? They won't have random bleeding if they have vitamin C, or their bones won't just fall apart if they have vitamin D. So these things become daily requirements. But there's lots of things like that. And via photosynthesis, which we have went through a zillion different times, which we'll continue to go through until it's memorized in your mind, and not just the photosynthesis part, but the other half of the irreducibly complex relationship between plants and humans, right? The Krebs cycle, where we take the chemicals in, break them down, and recycle and send that stuff back to the plants, right? So we recycle urine, feces, and breath back to the soil, back to the air, and the plants in turn take those things and turn those back into new nutrients, right? So it is a irreducibly complex relationship that started with being broken 1865 when the slaves are released in America. Slaves are released, soil stops being taken care of. Because the soil stops being taken care of, you have what's called dust bowls, and the soil eroding, right? From that process of the soil eroding, then we get into synthetic fertilizers for the soil, right? So, you know, you do have pockets of people trying to bring awareness to composting and natural manures and all that kind of stuff to get back to the old school type of way of keeping the soil healthy. But for the large part, it's still chemicals. It's still chemicals now, right? But anyway, when these things are removed from the plants, they're not thrown out. When they're removed from the plants, they are simply repackaged. They're repackaged so that they can be sold another type of way. Yo, the chat be in their own world. Yo, I ain't gonna hold you. Don't take my word for it. Tika is trying to get like Paul, trying to get like Tika, and Tika trying to get like Osborne. Osborne don't even be in the chat. Sometimes he be in the chat, but he be silent. You know what I'm saying? He be doing his workout and his day-to-day with us playing in the background. Yeah. Osborne good. Osborne alive. Osborne good. Right? So this is the key, that this is the whole magic. This is the magic right here. Like, this is it. $1 trillion, not even trillion, quadrillion dollar industries run off of what I'm showing y'all here. What's in that book? And it's going to expand even further. RFK is expanding industry. Yes, he's doing some things for health and all that, but remember, Trump is a businessman. So there's also a business component to what RFK is doing. He's expanding industry, right? So we're going to see more of this type of thing. We're going to see more of this type of thing. We're going to see a lot more of this. This is just a wave of the future. It's en route. It's en route. So when you have these books in advance, you'll know for the future. You'll know how to get these things, you know, for the low ski. You'll know how to get these things for the low ski and not just get what comes out after the effect, right? Not just learning in hindsight. And what I mean by learning in hindsight is there's an emergency, right? Some new outbreak or something crazy happens. Everybody has to wait until like the regular process, like we talked about with vitamin C. A lot of people have to get sick, die, injured, whatever, and then they figure out, oh, this is the trick. Oh, we should have been taking this. Okay, good. Everybody start taking this. Now, if you in the group of everybody start taking this, you kind of good. You made it. But you might be in that other group of people who are damaged in some form or way, or maybe you lost a loved one or something like that, right? So you want to be able to try to have the info in advance, or at least have a process to where you know how to create the information. And that's what I'm showing you throughout this whole book is the process that you would use to discover therapeutic and medicinal properties. The process that billion and trillion dollar companies use. This is what they're doing. When they send out their explorers, researchers, etc., into the jungle, this is what they're doing. They're going, they're getting plant samples, and they're taking them back to the lab. They're not just taking them back to the lab, putting them in a machine and going, find medicine. That it doesn't go like that. You don't just take a plant, put it in an electric box and go, whoop, find medicine. Like it's not that, we're not there, right? What they have to do is break down the samples and find all of the compounds. They have to take the plant back and find the compounds, but they can't find compounds if they don't even know the compounds exist. So your herbalist running around on the internet, they don't even know, they don't even understand this. This is foreign to them. They're going to tell you, oh yeah, you got to get the yellow dot because it's high in iron. Okay. What else you got for me? High in iron? What is this, the 1940s? Okay, that's dope. Yeah, scroll through that list and you'll see all of the Ebers Papyrus books. Yeah, because what happens is in the Ebers Papyrus books, we have a long list of some of these herbs that you probably won't find anywhere else, right? And it's because I possibly couldn't go through each herb, but let me see how many is here. I knew how many it was before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So about 80, 160, 200. Okay, so between 300 and 400 herbs are listed in these books. Now, throughout the book, we don't have time to break down all of the 300 or 400, 350 different herbs, right? But we do break down which herbs, were for specific conditions turned into certain medicines. So like in this book here, what are we talking about? In this book here, we talk about like cuts, right? So like if your daughter fall down and scraped her knee, right? We talk about the things that somebody would use, like painkillers and, what you would put on there to disinfect it. And, if you have, abscesses in your gums, we kind of go through a lot of these different issues and go to the plant sources of these things, right? We go to the plant sources of these things. So We give you the full list so that you can continue to doing the research on your own. But we have about 5 or 6 of those books already where we go through specific stuff, the most popular, right? All right, so let's go back. Let's go back over here. All right. Now, of course, I'm just showing you a bare bones way of using this information to figure out what is it that you're eating, right? Because you can go further, obviously, right? Like you do a search like this, right? And we've done a few so far. This is our 3rd one. We did alkaloids, we did terpenoids, we did phenolics for pigeon peas, right? But now you want to learn more about whatever this is, right? So you could just do that, right? You can just go into the specifics of each one now, right? Okay, see, look, AI don't even know how to deal with this. All right, so you got to go here, National Institute of Health. Right? And we get right here, look, potential health benefits of gallic acid, therapeutic and food applications, right? Extensive health benefits, antimicrobial, antioxidant, anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, antiviral, well documented, right? Well documented, right? It also demonstrates anti-cancer properties by inhibiting cancer cell growth and promoting apoptosis, right? This is also good for senescent cells, right? Anything that promotes apoptosis is not only good for cancer, but also senescent cells, right? Lowering blood pressure, decreasing cholesterol, enhancing endothelial function, right? So this is cardiovascular disease, but also anything that enhances endothelial function, men, is going to have a benefit to your erection, to your erection. And for women, it's going to help you to have faster, stronger orgasms, right? So for men, the blood flow to the genitals area is responsible for erection, but for women, the blood flow to the genitals area is responsible for orgasm, right? So if you're not getting orgasm, it's because you may be overstimulated or you may not be getting enough circulation to your private parts, ladies. Right? All right. All right. So let's go back. Right. And we can do this with all of these different things. Right. We can go Vitexin. Right. Let's see what Vitexin got going on. Right. Now look at Vitexin. Vitexin offers benefits like anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, but neuroprotective effects for the brain and the heart and blood sugar control, right? So diabetes, neurodegenerative diseases, right? So, and these are references. National Institute of Health, right? The Journal of Phytopharmacology, right? So there's already a journal of phytopharmacology, right? So I want y'all to understand the power of having these books. All right. All right, so let's go to the next thing. right? Okay, so now we learned what category Vitexin actually goes in. It's a glycoside, right? Known for antioxidant, color stabilizing effects. So glycosides obviously work with or through what? Pigments, right? They also contain potentially harmful cyanogenic glycosides, though levels are usually low and can be reduced by processing, highlighting its dual role in nutrition and potential anti-nutrients, right? So we talked about that, right? Okay. Do pigeon peas contain natural oils? Yes, but they are low in fat overall. Primary fatty acids being linolenic and palmitic acids, right? So now let's see what we get. Let's see what we get over here. Linoleic acid is an omega-6. It offers benefits for skin health, moisture, softness. So remember we talked about transepidermal water loss, right? Supports heart health, potentially lowering bad cholesterol, etc., right? Improving insulin sensitivity, right? All of these items are just coming out of pigeon peas, mind you. This is just regular old pigeon peas, right? What's the other one? Palmitic. Palmitic acid, a common saturated fat, is crucial for building cell membranes, producing lung surfactants. So this is cleaning the lungs. This is important. In the age of respiratory illness and infections, right? Signaling molecules, brain health, right? Myelin sheaths. So this is for people that deal with MS or want to prevent MS anyway, right? Energy, etc., blah, blah, blah. Okay. But now, this also sheds some light on one of the nutrients that people that make the meat argument. This is one of those items. This is one of those items. Like they say, you can't get certain things that your body needs from vegetables. Well, they'll tell you all the time, you can't get saturated fat from vegetables. And you can absolutely get saturated fat from vegetables. We see right here that there's saturated fat in pigeon peas, right? Now, it's not going to be a whole bunch, obviously, because these are pigeon peas, right? But if we look at the relationship of saturated fat to cardiovascular health, you don't want a whole bunch, right? I definitely needed it. I definitely needed it. I appreciate that. I definitely needed it. Talk heavy. I zelled you. Come on now. That's that. Woo! You talking crazy talk. Talk heavy. Doc, I zelled you. Yeah, that's what we talking about up here in the tundra. We yeah, Michigan is the tundra, right? It's always 5-6 inches of snow on the ground up here, right? But no, I definitely appreciate that, right? All right. So we cooking. I want y'all to understand this value, right? I want y'all to understand this value. Do we need to look up polysaccharides? I feel like we don't need to look up polysaccharides. But we're going to look up polysaccharides. right? I feel like this is common sense that there's starch in polysaccharides, right? But I know, again, this is one of those areas where I have to do cleanup work for my elder, and not only for my elder, but for all of the people that are regurgitating what they learned from Dr. Sebi without doing their own research, right? Without doing their own research, right? The plant kingdom is loaded with starch. So the idea of not eating starch is crazy. The idea of not eating starch is insane. That's incorrect, but it's based on other mistakes that Dr. Sebi made, right? So if in your mind you believe that minerals are the only thing that's healthy inside a plant, right? In your mind, then all you need is minerals and nothing else. So you might as well just go buy a mineral liquid or something and, have trace minerals, right? But if trace minerals was the end of the story, then doctors would be using trace minerals, right? Doctors aren't using trace minerals, right? They give you a few minerals in your IV. So yes, you do need them, but this is what doctors are using. This is what pharmaceutical giants are using. And these are the things that's in your food that they're taking out of your food, right? So starch is a basic component of all plants, right? You have a certain type of starch in your body, right? You have a certain type of starch in your body, right? All living things have a way to store sugar, right? And that's really all starch is. Matter of fact, let's do a quick little, this is important, right? It's basic. I feel like we should know some of these things, but some of us do not, right? So let's start with, what is starch? Okay, so we get the basics, right? Plants use starch so that they can have a store of sugar, a store of energy, period, right? It's found in foods like potatoes, rice, and corn, and the primary carbohydrate in the human diet, right? This is a little misleading, and this is where the Sebi people go crazy at, right? Potatoes, rice, and corn. So immediately they go, oh yeah, because white rice, white potatoes, and corn is not healthy for you, that means that starch is not healthy for you. And that's not, those things don't go together, right? The reason why white potatoes are not as healthy, and white potatoes are not totally unhealthy, so we can take that off the table, but you rather have purple, red, or yellow, yams, sweet potatoes. You rather have the potatoes with more pigment in the skin as well as color in the actual starch. The pigment concentration is going to tell you the nutrient concentration, right? But when it comes to rice and corn particularly, these things are highly processed. And even when you go get like corn from the supermarket and it's the whole corn, that corn is like one of the most subsidized foods that there is. So corn is nowhere even close to natural. Even if you was to see a farmer take it out of the ground or off the stalk and load it up on the truck and follow the truck to the supermarket and buy it before, like, the processes of growing corn is so unnatural to the way corn was, natural corn. You know what I'm saying? That's why it looks the way it looks, where it's like white and yellow. You know what I'm saying? Corn is supposed to have color to it as well. You know what I'm saying? So they have blues and purples and stuff like that, you know, people that really like corn get into, you know what I'm saying, to get more nutrition and still enjoy corn at the same time, right? But it's about processing. And processing doesn't begin in a factory. Processing begins in the plant. You see how we did that? That's an entendre right there. You see, that's an entendre right there. Processing begins in the plant, right? Because you have a plant, like a system of factories, but you also have a plant, like the actual plant in the soil, right? That's where the name comes from. The factories and all that, they mimicking nature's plants, because nature's plants is the green kingdom, right? That's how the plants, the fake plants came, you know, the factories, they're mimicking the plants, right? But depending on what you put in the soil, what you spray on the plants and all that kind of stuff will determine these things, right? So that's another part of our conversation, right? That's another part of our conversation that you get with this plant genetics book, right? When they're spraying fertilizers and people are saying that the fertilizers are doing things to the plants, this is what it's doing. It's either overproducing the chemicals that they're spraying on the plant is causing the plant to overproduce these things, or stop producing one or more of these things altogether, right? The pesticides that they put on it, it causes the plants to overproduce or underproduce these chemicals, these compounds, right? So it changes the nature of the plant. When you change the nature of the plant, you change the nutrient profile, right? You may even neutralize the nutrient profile in some instances, right? But this is where the nutrient profile is. Because even the minerals that we've heard so much about over the years in the herbal kingdom, in the herbal universe, they're here. This is where the minerals are. Minerals aren't just floating around by themselves in plants. They're attached to stuff. They're attached to enzymes. They're attached to molecules. They're in here somewhere, right? Plants don't use rocks either. Plants use mineral elements, right? Mineral elements, an element of calcium. That's why when we look at the biochemistry, you're looking at ions, right? You're looking at ions. Ions are composed of elemental items, right? Not minerals, right? All right. So starch is how plants store glucose. So let's do this. Do all plants have starch? You see that? You see that? Virtually all green plants produce and contain starch. So there is no such thing. There is no such thing as the food list that doesn't have. As a matter of fact, let's go a step further. Let me just, so we could totally get this idea out of people's mind. Let's totally debunk this concept of starch. Let's debunk this idea of starch. All right. So let's look at a couple of items from Dr. Sebi food list. Let's look at a couple items off Dr. Sebi food list. Right? Quinoa is on Dr. Sebi food list. And what does it say? Quinoa is a carbohydrate-rich food and its primary component is starch. So listen, these people running around with Sabi food lists, I'm telling you, 99% of these people that's running Sabi name into the ground, they not doing no research. And if they say they doing research, the only research they're doing is on market share. They know that Sabi's name and Sabi's products can make a profit. So they're just out trying to make money. It's just like selling door-to-door makeup or Mary Kay products or something. That's all that that's all they doing. They're not doing no research because the things they say sound asinine to somebody that even knows just a little bit of information, right? And this is where you get guys like Unc, right? That is a critic of these people, and you get people that follow him, right? And then we'll sit back, just keeping it real. We'll sit back and we go, how are these people following Unc? Unc don't know what he's talking about. Because Unc will find a critical flaw in the logic. And then from that critical flaw in the logic, he'll take that one critical flaw in the logic and he'll use that as a way to debunk or denounce everything associated. So when people go, oh, well, we following Dr. Sabi's food list because we don't eat no starch. Starch is an acid and starch is destroying, starch is carbonic acid, and the starch is what causes diseases and this and that. So we eating this food list right here because it don't have no starch in it. And then you simply take the food list and you start looking at each item and go, okay, wait a minute. Is quinoa on the food list? Yeah, quinoa is on the food list. Quinoa, 70% pure starch. You go, yo, either the guy who made this food list is a fraud, or the people following this are frauds, because clearly everybody that you're selling this idea to about not eating starch, the whole food list is starch. Right? Like this just is what it is, right? And we can go down more items, right? We can go down more items. Maybe avocados don't have any starch, right? Maybe avocados don't have any starch. Yes, avocados do contain starch, but they are considered a non-starchy food because most of their carbohydrates come from fiber, very little sugar. Right? Very little sugar. So avocados are low starch, right? But starch nonetheless. Now, this is one that I know everybody on this. Everybody on this. And I broke so many people's hearts with spelt. Does spelt contain starch? Yes, spelt contains starch, as starch is the primary carbohydrate and energy source in cereal grains, including spelt, making up a large percentage of its nutritional content. Ooh, let's do this one because I know people be on this. People be on this. Oh, my goodness. Wild rice. Does wild rice have starch in it? Yes. Wild rice is a starchy whole grain, rich in starch. Oh, my goodness. Oh my goodness! Do you understand? Do I got to go through the whole food list? Right? I'm hoping y'all getting it. Right now, am I saying that spelt is not nutritious for you? No. Am I saying wild rice is not good for you? No. Am I saying that chickpeas are not good for you? No, right? But what I'm saying is that whether they're healthy for you or not has nothing to do with whether there's starch in it. It has to do with this stuff. This is what's determining the health concentration. How much of these compounds is in there and what ratios these compounds are in. How bioavailable these compounds are for you. That's what's going to determine if this stuff is nutritious, right? Beyond just the regular, macro, fat, sugar, protein profile. Like, this is what's going to determine whether it's healthy or not something arbitrary like, is there starch in it? If it's a plant, it's made out of starch. So running around thinking you got some sort of food list made out of plants that don't include starch is crazy. That's crazy. That's insane. That's insanity. That's why I'm saying when you get these books, yes, you might get a little heat. When you start reading and studying these books, you might get a little heat from people because the things you're going to say is going to go all the way against the grain. See, that's another entendre for you, pun intended. We're going against the grain, right? Because when you're in the holistic health or the naturopathic space, you're already going against mainstream. You're already going against mainstream media, right? But now when you go to another level and you start saying these things, you're not only going against the mainstream media and corporations and all that, but you're also going against the mainstream of your niche. You're going against the mainstream of Black holistic science. When you go against Dr. Sebi, you're going against, they looking at you like, what? Oh yeah, he definitely don't know what he's talking about, because he disagreeing with the pharmaceutical people and Dr. Sebi. Like, what is? No, this is science. This is why we have to take you into a deeper level of understanding of plants and humans than anybody else is even willing to do. Nobody's willing to invest the time or the money into going this deep. First of all, they don't know this information, right? But even still, it doesn't generate the money. It doesn't generate the headlines, right? Erykah Badu is not going to watch the video and be like, "Ooh, come hang out with me," right? Big Facts and Puff Daddy is not going to invite me to go on their couch and talk about molecules and compounds, right? Because they don't understand there's a value for this, right? It's much more splashy to say, oh, you got the secret food list from Dr. Sebi. What's the secret food list? Oh, this is the plants that don't have starch. What? That's like saying these are the plants that aren't plants. What? What are you talking about? All of those things have starch. That's literally what they're made out of. That's how life goes on. Life goes on because we all have systems of storing energy, right? Which we know energy then takes us into subatomic wave function, blah, 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 blah. But your body has to have systems of storing that, right? So plants use starch, right? Plants use starch. Now let's go back to what we did. What is starch, right? Let's go back to what is starch. Starch is a complex carbohydrate made of long chains of glucose that plants use to store energy. Okay, now let's do what is glycogen. Glycogen is the body's stored form of glucose, a polysaccharide made of many connected glucose molecules which serve as a reserve of energy source. So even you have a form of glycogen. I mean, a form of starch. It's not really like listed as starch, but it's you could say this is human starch. In fact, let's see what Yeah, let's see what the demons say. Starch and glycogen are both glucose polymers for energy storage, but starch, and you see plants in parentheses, is branched for long-term storage, while glycogen, animals, is highly branched for rapid energy release in the liver and muscles, making it more compact and faster to break down. Think of starch as a plant's slow release energy battery and glycogen as an animal's quick access energy pack, right? So learning about this was one of the things that gave me an advantage in trying to help folks out with diabetes, because I realized that most of the people having these health conversations, they was missing something. There was something they was missing, right? A lot of things they was missing, but when it came to glucose, there was something they was missing, because nobody understood the concept of glycogen depletion. Nobody understood that concept, glycogen depletion. Glycogen depletion, and I forgot which book we talk about that in. We talk about glycogen depletion a lot in relationship to melanin concentrating hormone and autophagy, right? Glycogen depletion serves as a internal trigger for melanin concentrating hormone and then further on autophagy, right? But glycogen depletion is something you need in order to control your glucose levels in your blood. Because if you're not getting rid of the glycogen, you're not going to be processing glucose. You got to get rid of glycogen in order to get rid of glucose. So when you have normal activity allows your muscles to clear glycogen. When you clear glycogen, more glucose is going to be processed from the blood. And when you have a pattern of doing that, when you have a pattern of doing that, right? You have a regular frequency, right? When you have a high frequency of doing that, that's called healthy blood sugar levels, right? A healthy blood sugar level is not a steady thing, right? Because you don't eat one time and then never eat again. You eat on a regular basis, right? So you have to have a frequency, right? A cycle of repetition of how your body clears glucose, right? And if the conversation doesn't include glycogen, the person doesn't know what they're talking about. These are things that make me laugh when I'm listening to people talk and I just hear certain things, like these trigger me. So I'll be having conversations with folks and sometimes I'll blurt out, laughing, and people feel like it's disrespectful that I'm laughing at them. But if you position yourself as an expert and then you start saying some of these crazy things like, yeah, these plants don't have no starch in it, I'm like, oh, I can't help it. I'm like, yo, this is wow, right? Or you start breaking down how you're going to lower the blood glucose and you never mention like glycogen or, some of these other, I just know you don't know what you're talking about. No matter what your credentials are, you can have 10 PhDs from 1,000 universities. You don't understand blood sugar if you don't understand the relationship to glycogen, period. You don't understand food as medicine or the therapeutic nature of plants if you don't understand starch. If you're running around teaching people that plants are healthy because they have minerals in it, and you get the food list that doesn't have any starch, you are insane. You're insane. You're insane, right? Or even worse, I ain't even gonna say you insane. I'll say the people following you is insane. Right? Because this is when I really broke folks' hearts. This is when I broke folks' hearts. This is when they was really mad with me, when I did this. Oh my God. Now, mind you, I did this way before there was an AI. There was no AI. This was just actual research. I was researching the origins of wheat, right? And funny enough, I was doing some Kemetic research, right? Because remember, in Kemet, Osiris is the originator of wheat and grain, right? So wheats and grains come from Osiris. So I was researching this whole thing, and then I find out, you know, about einkorn. I don't know if y'all ever heard of einkorn, but I start telling people about einkorn. But yeah, I was like, yo, not only is the food on the food list all starch, but it's hybrids on the food list. What are y'all doing? It's hybrids on the food list. Ain't no hybrids on this food list. It's hybrids right up on that food list. Like, Inky, you made that up, bro. You just hating. All right. I'm just reading. That's what I'm reading. That's all. I'm just reading. I know y'all allergic to, maybe reading is an anti-nutrient. Y'all avoiding books. Books not on the food list. I got it. That's all I'm doing. I'm just reading. But I was still saying that spelt is still amazingly healthy. And so my problem was, you got to understand this stuff, because if you run away from all hybrids, then you forget that there are plenty of things that are healthy that are hybrids. So just because a food is a hybrid does not mean it's not healthy. So you can't have a food list and say, these are all the non-hybrids. These are the original wow foods. These don't have starch in it and all this kind of crazy stuff. All those claims make us, if we following you, it makes us all look crazy and non-scientific, right? So anyway, this is where we was at. Polysaccharides. Does pigeon peas have steroids? My bad. Okay, here we go. Pigeon peas do not contain steroids in the common sense of the term. They contain naturally occurring plant compounds, including a type of plant-based steroid derivative called phytosterols, or plant steroids, which are different and offer health benefits. So see, this is where stuff like this is where I have to fight with the what you call it here. Right? And then say, I did not mention anabolic steroids. I asked if pigeon peas had steroids. So your answer, no, was incorrect. Right? Yes, you are correct. From a scientific and phytochemical standpoint, it is accurate to say that pigeon peas do contain steroids. In chemistry, steroids refer to a broad class of organic compounds with a specific four-ring structure. Pigeon peas contain several types of naturally occurring plant steroids known as phytosterols. Right? Now, here's where you find saponins. Right? Here's where you find saponins. Right? So when you see saponins, like we saw a few times, saponins are in this category of steroids. Right? And then if we wanted to, we could start to look up some of these things to get an idea of what's going on. Right. Beta-sitosterol, a plant sterol offering benefits like lowering bad cholesterol by blocking absorption, improving enlarged prostate. So, yo, you know what's going to happen after this video? Mad people going to go out and start buying pigeon peas. Yo, I'm dead. Yo, everybody that watched this video gonna be like, wait a minute. So all that's in the pigeon, where I get pigeon peas from? I never even heard of pigeon peas. What is a pigeon pea? Mass flooding to the supermarket for pigeon peas. They're like, hold up, I gotta get on pigeon peas. What? See, listen, this one of those things where I be telling y'all this thing because I learned it this way. We got indoctrinated in the religion of science. We got indoctrinated by force into the religion of science. And so a lot of traditions that our grandma, grandpa, and all of them was trying to pass down to us, right? We cut that off because when we asked them why, they could not give us an answer in the language of our new religion. So because they couldn't use scientific terms to explain what they was talking about, we assumed, as we were trained to assume in our new religion of science, that these old folks didn't know what they was talking about. This is superstition. They don't know what they're talking about. And listen, sometimes we were right. Sometimes there's things that it was just pure superstition. They didn't know what they was talking about. But equally as many times, they was on something. They was cooking. They was cooking. They was on something. They just didn't know how to articulate what they were trying to tell us in the language of our new religion, which is the religion of science. Because there's a difference between actual science and the religion of science. You have to understand science to be outside of the religion of science. If you're under the religion of science, you're looking for scientific terms and scientific explanations while not even understanding those terms or the explanations. That makes you scientifically religious, not scientifically literate, right? So this is some of those things, like Puerto Ricans, right? Puerto Ricans don't know why they splashing garlic everywhere. Nor do Mexicans know why they splashing peppers everywhere. Mexicans do not have any clue why they splashing peppers anywhere. But they would tell you because this would make the food taste good. No, your taste buds are just acculturated, right? Acculturated to spicy foods because your family, you grew up on that. Right? You Puerto Rican, your family grew up on garlic. So you just used to that. If the garlic is missing, the food don't taste right. If it's not spicy, the food don't taste right. Right? So it's just you grew up on that. Right? But that's not intrinsically a human experience. Right? Your ancestors were putting certain ingredients in the food because of the therapeutic value. This goes all the way back to the spice wars. Right? They don't even talk about the spice wars in school, right? In order for RFK to really make this thing pop, they're going to have to start teaching the spice wars in elementary school, right? Because the spice wars was all about herbs. And even what they teach about the spice wars is halfway inaccurate. Oh yeah, they had sugar and cinnamon and they was killing people to food taste better. No. They was killing, they was willing to die for them spices because A, yeah, there's money attached to it, but B, people were living way longer. People were living longer, people were living stronger, people were living healthier. This is one of the reasons that Kemet start having wars with other peoples, because Kemet had all kind of herbs and medicines, and when other people were sick, they was coming to the per onx, which we would consider like a hospital or a health center. They was coming to the per onx And they was like, yo, who is they? Just like how ISIS turning folks like, you're not an American citizen. Who are you? Where you came from? Oh, we're from the land of such and such. They're like, well, you better go back to the land we have over there and get you some. Yeah, let your king or your people do whatever they need to do to get you together. We not. Yeah, this is for us. This is all rationed up. Yeah, this is all rationed up. We got rations over here. Yeah, we got 10,000 people. We got 20,000 rations. We give you some. That's somebody's. So what do you have that what can you trade us that's value that we need to give you somebody's rations of watermelons? Because somebody need these rations of watermelons for sugar and their blood sugar and they high blood pressure and all that. So what we give? How we giving you our watermelons? Yeah, how we doing that? That's not how that go. People dying, people coming to kill, right? If my child is sick or my wife is sick, and I'm an able-bodied soldier, and I got soldiers with me, and I know y'all got the medicine or the herbs or the food or whatever over there to fix my people up, and y'all talking about close the gate. Oh, close the gate. What? We storming the gate. It's up. It's up. So a lot of times when you hear about these ancient wars, and these ancient wars were fought over wealth, you have to get the concept of cash out of your mind, because they wasn't running on cash. And a lot of times everybody has shiny metal. So it's not even like gold like you see in cartoons. A lot of time the wealth was food, herbs, books, and water. Food, herbs, books, and water. That's what they was fighting for wealth. They was fighting over resources, right? That's what they was fighting over. Same like you see now when we at war quietly over water and oil. Yeah, we over war. We going to war over water and oil. Like it might seem like some other stuff on the top, but it's water and oil. And then there's other little resources, but they don't say the resources. What they say is gross domestic product. And they'll put some contracts out and they'll stop countries from trading with you, right? So when you hear about international trade and this and that, that's what that is. This is a different type of warfare now. It's done with the pen, backed up by the bombs. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, we want to, oh, y'all want to act? Okay. Everybody huddle up. Yeah, we're not sending them nothing. So they're not getting no medicine, no this, no rice, no. Yeah, we cutting y'all off. Whoop. Right? So this is how certain countries we know of in America for, again, the most popular alkaloid in all of Hollywood, cocaine, right? Because there are little countries where they didn't have nothing else. They didn't have no resources. The only thing growing abundantly out there is poppy seeds. So what they doing? They got to, they getting ready to process the poppy seeds into powder and start sending that all over the place so that they can get back something that they can use to buy all the other things that they need. You know what I'm saying? Now, obviously, TV popularize it, make it look like money and jewelry and this and that, but that's where you get the whole freedom fighters and all this other kind of stuff associated with the drug war, right? Because there's some portion of people in the drug thing that's just trying to look, have jewelry or whatever. There's a whole nother thing where you got impoverished people that don't have access to resources except this, so they trying to trade this for that, like to, So anyway, let's go with the super chats. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go with the super chat and the not super chat. Where's my not super chat? Let me find my not super chat. I got a not super chat. Yeah, we got yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Talk heavy. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Right? Appreciate y'all. All right. So anyway, this is why y'all have to get these books. All right. So yes, there are steroids in plants. All right. What else? Acids. Oh my goodness, this is a big one right here. Woo! Oh, 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 oh! I was the devil. What? No, these foods don't have no acids in it. These foods don't have no acids in it. I'm like, what are y'all talking about? Amino acids, fatty acids? Of course those foods have acids. Are y'all insane? DNA is an acid. The A in DNA stands for acid. I'm like, are y'all insane? Inky, you hating, bro. There's too much hating, Inky. You gotta stop this, bro. How you gonna say Dr. Sebi food that's got acids in it? I'm like, I don't know what else to tell y'all. Y'all are nuts. Y'all done went crazy. Yeah, it's pandemonium going on. Let's ask the big question. Let's just ask the big question. Let's just ask the big question. Here's the big question. Do all plants have acids in them? So we clear for the people all the way in the back. Do all plants have acids in them? Yes. Organic acids, essential for their function, pH balance, nutrient uptake. All plants So do all plants have starch? Yes. Do all plants have acid? Yes. Are you absolutely insane running around? Will you be looking absolutely insane running around trying to tell doctors? See, and this is where we lose respect as a culture, right? Because a doctor has went through school. They've taken chemistry. So when you tell a doctor, oh, this is the food list right here, and this food list can cure cancer because this food don't have no starch in it. They looking at you like, wait, what's on that food list? Oh yeah, we got dandelions, watermelons, quinoa, and they looking at you like, wait, so there's no starch in that food right there, right? They don't even mention it out loud. They just hit the elbow like that. They just elbow they partner like, all right, cool. And then they go off back into their world and they go, yeah, those are idiots. They're running a scam. That's a fraud. That's a quack. That's pseudo information. That's not real science right there. That's made up. That's because they already know all plants have starches in it. They already know that. Oh, yeah, no, this is the alkaline food list. None of these foods have acid in it because these is all alkaline. Yeah, look, they just hitting each other with the elbow like this. So let me see that food list. Oh, okay. Wow. So this food list even has citrus fruits on it? Yeah, because see, what y'all doctors don't understand is that all acids is bad for the human body because you have to have an alkaline environment. And they're like, what? Have you ever heard of DNA? Because DNA is an acid. And DNA puts other acids together. Your whole body is made out of them. Not. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, wait, okay, yeah, the bones and the muscles. Oh yeah, but not the food though. Like, wait, what? Not the food. Not the food. Let me show y'all this. Not the food. What is the citric acid cycle? The citric acid cycle, known as the Krebs cycle or TCA, is a central series of enzyme catalyzed reactions in cellular respiration that oxidizes acetyl-CoA derived from carbs, fats, and proteins to release energy, producing ATP and reduced coenzymes that power oxidative phosphorylation for massive ATP generation, while also providing precursors for biosynthesis occurring in the mitochondria. Now, again, if you've been here with me long enough, this is regular English, right? You totally understood everything that we just read in that paragraph. John Q. Public, when you read this paragraph to them, this sounds like boom, bam, boom, bam, bam, boom, bam, bam, boom, bam, boom, bam, bam, boom, bam, bam. They don't know what none of this is, what you just said. Enzyme catalyzed reactions. They don't know what that is. They don't know what cellular respiration is. They don't know what oxidized means, right? They don't know what acetyl-CoA is, right? They have no idea about what any of this paragraph means. This is all sound like a foreign language. So they just gonna wait till you finish saying it and then go, okay, so can you cure AIDS with that? Because Dr. Sebi said he know how to cure AIDS. Oh my goodness. Here's a better question. Let's ask a better question. Why is the citric acid, there you go. Why is the citric acid cycle called, why is the citric acid cycle named after citric acid? This is a better question. This is the $1 million question. The citric acid cycle is named after citric acid because it's the first stable molecule formed when acetyl-CoA joins with oxaloacetate to start the cycle series of reaction. So this is made from all food. All food. All food. Every single food, whether you have a burger from White Castle or you have a massaged avocado kale salad, whether you have plain white rice or you get black rice, whether you have protein from a cow's ass, whether you have protein from hemp, when you eat it, and your body breaks it down, it's going to go through the citric acid cycle and it's going to produce citric acid. When you chew up food before it even gets to mitochondria anywhere, it's loaded with acid right in your stomach. It's called stomach acid. You just can't make this stuff up, right? But you have to know all of this stuff so you understand biochemistry. And you can really understand why plants are superior in health-wise. Not because of superstition, like, oh, the plants don't have starches or they don't have acids in it or nothing crazy like that. Some of these things are the main healthiest components and they are acids or they're embedded in starch or they rely on starch to be made. Right? Because that's the plant's energy source. That's what I'm saying. This why we, it's why we be cooking. It's why we be cooking. All right. So I think that's, oh, no. How we missed this one? The last one. We can't skip this one. Ligands. Ooh-wee. Do pigeon peas have ligands or lignins, right? Pigeon peas contain ligands, which are a type of polyphenolic compound found in plants, particularly in the seed coats. Presence in pigeon peas. Research indicates that pigeon pea husk, the outer layer of the seed, contains a variety of phenolic compounds, including lignins, flavonoids, and other beneficial phytochemicals. I want to do this. Let's go. Let's grab that. Let's go over here. Right? Let's go over here. Here's $1 million question for you. Here's $1 million question for you. Look at the question I asked. Are plant pigments phenolic compounds, including ligands, flavonoids, and other beneficial phytochemicals? Yes, many plant pigments are indeed phenolic compounds, right? So when I'm saying plant pigments, I just want y'all to understand. And when I'm saying we got to have the pigment in the fiber, a lot of these things, what I keep telling you, is categorized as they're not saying pigment, but that's what these are. Because remember, a lot of how we got here is based on ignorance. Remember, Black's anatomy, right? Your timeline. Medical school, 1765. They don't know what water is yet. They don't know what, they don't know what the Krebs cycle is until 150, 175 years later. Meaning they don't know how food digests, and they don't know that it is pigment responsible for that, right? So you can't get the full value of pigments as nutrients if you don't understand that pigments is responsible for metabolism, right? So all of this is new information last 50 years. But remember, there's racism built into the institutions. Not everything that comes out of the institution is based on racism, though, or some sort of nefarious plot against the Black folks, right? Most of it is ignorance, right? But there's a mixture, right? So language like pigment, which can be triggering for people who are militant or racist, right? Is just, you're not going to find it as much. Or if you do, it'll be in a very specific type of usage. So if they're talking about, skin pigment, or maybe they're talking about plumage or fur, you might hear the term pigment. Other than that, you have to know, because remember, you don't see and hear with your eyes, you don't see and hear with your ears, you see and you hear with your mind. So even if you hear all about pigments, you don't know that you don't even know that that's pigment you're reading about. So some people going to be watching this video this whole time, and they're not going to know this whole time these categories is pigments. Right? But that's one of my pet peeves. I hate being in the room with people talking about me or something that I love and not knowing, because I don't know the language or the nomenclature. Right? So again, mind you, now we've been talking for 2 hours, and this is just going over the value of just having this. Remember, we're not even deep into the book. This is just one page. This is one page. There's 2 hours. If you learned anything in this 2-hour period, we've been going over one page in the book. One page. Let me see. Let me go get my book. We've been going over 1 page. It might be at 1.5 pages. It might be 1.5 pages or 2 pages tops. I'm gonna go find out.
In the Lord, with no line, no embargo. Oh, know that I am loved and we give thanks and praise to the Most High God for the divine spark that set ourselves into perpetual motion. We give thanks for the magnetism of the Most Holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry boats of light 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and caves. We give thanks for your ability to drink clean water every 60 minutes, flooding the river of life. We give thanks that sugar has not covered our ferry and turn them into stone. We give thanks that darkness has not covered the riverbanks with calcium and turn them into stone. We give thanks that anger and fear have not turned our almonds bitter, turning our heart to stone. We give thanks for smooth sailing upstream through the valley of death, through the superior vena cava into the right atrium. We give thanks for smooth sailing around the heart through the corona crown, joining the vortex in the right atrium. Yeah. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodashim. We give thanks for the mechanic predictors when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodashim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opening a pathway to the vineyard. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the lunar gate to the vineyard closes. We give thanks to the Most High God that provides the light in our breath and the light in our breath. We give thanks for the finned olfactory system that makes our grapes ripe with light. We give thanks for the jet pillar that provides us with a stable fleet of ferry boats to dock in our vineyard. We give thanks for smooth sailing through the pulmonary vein into the storm of the left atrium. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodashim. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodashim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opens a pathway into the holy royal arch of the Waceptra. Give thanks for the magnetism of the Most Holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry boats of light 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and caves. Amen.
All right, so yeah, we just talking about okay, all right. So 3 pages. 1, 2, 3 pages. 3 pages. 3 pages. Right? 3 pages. Page 90, 91, and 92. Period. Right? In practicality, right? So stepping outside of the science, right? Because when you get the practical applications, the practical understanding, then when we start going in and we start to reading things like terpenoids are assembled from repeating isoprene units. In our ancient modern standing wave language, each isoprene unit behaves as a repeatable resonance module with a fixed phase length. When these units are linked, their electron standing waves phase lock end to end, forming long coherent wave chains or closed resonant loops. Cyclic terpenes arise when the terminal wave rejoins in phase, creating ring resonators with stable orbital circulation. Their volatility reflects low inertia standing wave confinement, allowing rapid energy exchange with the surrounding field. So remember, our plant genetics book is also called Source Material on the Kinetic Wave Function, right? So in this book is for the future. This book is for the future. So when they begin to understand that electrons form standing waves around atoms, and so when we're looking at the chemistry of a molecule, what we're actually looking at is the chemistry. We're actually looking at the makeup of standing waves and how standing waves behave in the body. And right? This is for the future. We're in the future. We're going back to the future. Maybe that's what I need. Maybe that's what I need. A back to the future joint. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a back to the future joint. I gotta remind myself of that. That's what I need for the plant genetics. I need a back to the future joint. Right? But so we need to get it, right? Phenolics are defined by aromatic rings with hydroxyl substitution. Aromatic rings are circular standing wave cavities where delocalized electrons form rotational resonance. Okay. Right. Now that's my favorite part of the discussion. Right? That's my favorite part of the discussion. Because that's what got me into a lot of this. That's why I have like weird entry points into some of these discussions, right? Because my entry point into this discussion comes from the Bible, right? My entry point into this discussion of aromatic rings comes from the Bible, right? Because in the Bible, you got King Solomon. King Solomon, he asked God for wisdom, right? And King Solomon got a symbol. That symbol somehow translates to wisdom of everything, right? So for me, I was very curious about that symbol. Very curious. Then I find out that this is a hexagram, right? I'm like, a hexagram? Oh, wait a minute, because it's the 6 lines. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I know about another system of hexagrams. This is crazy, right? Where you get like something like this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, something like that. Boom. Right? Hexagram. Right? Then I keep looking, right? Because now with this, I find out that this whole thing here is about 64 versions of a binary code, right? 64 versions of a binary code. So I'm already deep. I'm hooked. But I'm not hooked from the standpoint of like how normal people looking at it. I'm into this binary code and the fact that 64 also happens to be the codons of DNA, right? So, so I'm deep into this now, right? So then I look at this, right? And if we remove these edges, right? If we remove these edges, right? In the center of this star is a hexagram. A hexagon, rather, right? And this hexagon is basically the geometry of life, right? Why is the hexagon the geometry of life? Because water molecules use this shape, right? You have something called sphere packing. Sphere packing is the science of basically putting spheres together. And in order to make a complex organism, the first thing you have to be efficient on is space, right? So as much as people talk about frequency, which is a discussion of time, they forget about space. And in order to be efficient, you know, you want to get into frequencies and have high frequencies of good habits. Well, you also have to have a high efficiency in terms of spacing, right? So life forms use hexagonal shapes because it is the maximum or most efficient thing that you can use in terms of most efficient shape you could use in terms of space, right? So when you talk about structured water, pigments, and a whole other bunch of biological, molecules, cells, etc., they use this shape, right? So even when you look outside of the human body, you got honeycombs and all kinds of stuff, flowers and all kinds of stuff use this, right? For spacing purposes, right? Because space has an intricate relationship with time, right? Space and time determine energy movement. And space and time in terms of their relationship to energy movement is how your ancestors a long time ago came up with sacred geometry, right? Because understanding geometry is how you understand energy, right? But now we have terms like mass. Mass is the same thing. Mass is the same thing, right? It's about the energy inside of a thing, right? That's what sacred geometry is about, right? So anyway, I goes down this long rabbit hole, right? Of for most people considered to be craziness, right? But for me, the way my mind is hardwired, right? It leads me to light, right? It leads me to the understanding of light, right? Like masonry, like Kemet, it all comes down to light. And so this right here, is that right? Yep. This right here is the shape of an aromatic ring, right? And this aromatic ring is super important. Aromatic ring. Aromatic rings are super important. This is why we have aromatic amino acids, right? Because they have this, right? So that is our tryptophan and tyrosine, right? You got phenylalanine too, but don't worry about phenylalanine, right? These are the stars of the show, right? And then we could probably do this, add these lines in here, right? So when you see this like this, what's really happening is you got electron movement inside this confined, right? So this is a very unique shape. So this would be likened, right, to the right, the resonant wave cavity, right? That's what this becomes, a resonant electron cavity, right? So this shape, this aromatic ring gives amino acids or aromatic amino acids and anything made out of them the ability to interface with light in a way that you can't without this shape and this structure, right? This is how you get to interface with light. So all of your amazing pigments are made out of these two guys, one or the other or both, right? And where particular pesticides become dangerous is because certain pesticides, they mess with this. It's called the Shiki-Mat or Shiki-Mate pathway. And I might be misspelling this and probably mispronouncing it. But we'll look it up in a second, right? But this is the pathway in plants, right? Where the plants produce these, right? So plants have this. They have a Shiki-Mat pathway and they produce this. Humans don't produce these. Most animals don't produce these. So we have to eat the plants to get these, to build the pigments that goes into your neurons, your skin, your fur, your what else? Your coat, the feathers, whatever the case may be. Wherever you have pigment, you're going to need these. It comes from the plants, right? Pesticides and certain things target this area. So this is what the people that understand the science knew immediately, maybe 20 years ago, when watermelons with white seeds first start popping up like everywhere, right? Because when I was a kid, I'm not even 50 yet, right? 50 is right around the corner, but I'm not 50 yet, right? And when I was a kid, white seeds in the watermelon was crazy. We probably wouldn't even eat it. If we opened a watermelon and saw white seeds, we'd think it was bad. We wouldn't even eat it. That's how rare it was. We just never saw that before. It was always black seeds and watermelons. Like we just took that for granted. You know what I'm saying? Somewhere along the lines of my late teenage years, we started to seeing a lot of watermelons that was small and round and white seeds and all that, right? Because the chemicals was messing with this. And if it messes with this, it messes with a organism's ability to formulate pigment. If it messes with your ability to formulate pigment, it messes with your ability to reproduce, you know, interface with light, electricity, energy, blah, 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 blah. There's a whole host of things that this is responsible for, right? So it's not just light, right? So for instance, give you an example, tyrosine, right? You know, you need tyrosine for neuromelanin, melanin, you know, cardiac melanocytes, all that. But tryptophan, you got to have tryptophan for serotonin, melatonin, what else? Vitamin B3, I believe. A couple different things. Yeah. So your neurochemistry and your metabolism run on this. Yeah, your neurochemistry and your metabolism run on this, right? So you can't have healthy babies if you're deficient in this. Because how is a mom going to get this to her baby? She don't got none, right? Hypothetically, right? So anyway, but that's how I got all the way, you know, that's how my interest from way somewhere in left field wind up walking me all the way down into this. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Mona Harrison, because Mona Harrison was the first person that I saw like exclusively talking about water and some of those things, way before like Masaru Emoto and Gerald Pollack and all of these later people that would come along, right? Let me see if we can find this lady. Let me see if we can find this lady, just so y'all can see her face. That's how you keep people alive, you know. You remember them. You remember them. That's how you keep them alive. Let me see if we can find this lady. Okay, you can't even see her face on this. No, this is terrible. Okay, back to the drawing board. Let me see if I can find a video.
Because he's totally dependent on us to give him what he eats and drinks. So can I safely give him this substance and know that he doesn't have to worry about it, or I don't have to worry about it either? That's your gauge.
Yeah, I just want y'all to see her face. See her face, hear her name, Mona Harrison. Right? Yeah, we just did some magic. What about fish? They say it's brain food. Well, the fish itself is not the brain food. So that's the key, right? That's the key. The fish itself is not the brain food, right? The fish itself is not the brain food. But can fish be considered brain food? Sure, right? Sure. But it's this. Omega-3, right? Which goes back to that conversation earlier, because omega-3 is what? Acid. But omega-3 is the actual brain food, right? And then when you get into omega-3, you have two major categories, right? Two major categories, right? And this A both stands for acid, right? You have two major categories, right? Both of these are good for you. Don't get it twisted. Both of these are good for you. But DHA is harder to source. So because DHA is harder to source, it's more expensive. And because it's more expensive, it's more rare in the food supply. And so it has a higher value, right? But so this becomes the star of the show. This becomes the star of the show. And it does a few things electrically in your brain, your neurons, and your nerves that you don't get from the EPA, right? But the thing is about the omega-3 doesn't come from fish. So fish are brain food, or known as brain food, because they have the omega-3. But fish don't make omega-3 in their body, right? The omega-3 comes from what? It comes from AmericanHealer.website. When you go get the green packs, go get the 100 packs. We got the 100 packs. I'm telling you. Go get the green packs. Go to the website, AmericanHealer.website. Go get the green packs. This is where the omega-3 comes from. That's a great question. That was a great question. Let me see. Is that right here?
Because these recipes all look crazy.
Yeah. And I'm definitely grateful to collab with Ink. Like, he's been, sort of like a silent mentor, kind of like, guiding me through a lot of these different processes, and, me reaching out to him. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? So that's just a testament to, a lot of information that, I gathered from him and other people.
Lamar, don't take my word for it. Stalin, Society Baby, Dead Stop, Madman, Jeremiah. Thanks to the whole chat.
It's not just kitchen chemistry.
Here you go. Here you go. Here you go. This better. This better. This is the source of the omega-3.
photosynthesis. Green is the businesses. Health is wealth. Water both instances. Green is the business. Green is the business. Get your order still. 100-pack chlorophyll, more than real, applaud the deal. Vitamin K for the blood, vitamin A for your eyes. Power of the ocean. American healer is the GOAT. And give big bro price for the low. Cop and go, let them know. We cleanse and fasting. Get the month manual today. We no clay. Desire and the price of stop interference is.
That's where the omega-3s come from. The omega-3s come from the algae, and it goes up the food chain. Omega-3s come from algae and goes up the food chain. So you have the tiny fish and the tiny sea creatures. They eat the algae and all of the sea vegetables. And then the omega-3, like it does in your body, it does the same in all animals. It gets stored in the tissues. It's fat. It's stored in the tissues. And so the not so small fish and creatures eat the tinier ones. And the medium ones eat the not so small ones. And the almost large ones eat the medium ones. And then the big ones eat the, you know what I'm saying? And that's how it winds up being concentrated in the fish. Because the fish are either directly eating a lot of algae every day, or they're eating smaller fish or smaller sea creatures that eat the algae. How about other omega-3 algae? Well, there's a bunch of them. Yeah, there's a bunch of them. I'm not specifying. I'm just saying we have 2 algae that are highly nutritious that have the omega-3s on the website. But yeah, there's more algae out there than humans even know about. Marine biologists are discovering new algae all the time. In fact, that's a hot area of research because of the commercial value of the algae, especially with the laws changing to see food as medicine. The more the laws change to see food as medicine, the more you're going to have commercial pursuits of things like algae. That's why we have chlorella. That's why we have chlorella, right? We have chlorella and we have spirulina. It's not mixed together. It's not mixed. We have chlorella on the website. That's 100% broken cell wall chlorella. And then we also have 100% spirulina. We have that because people like it. We just have it because people like it. My personal preference is chlorella. That has not changed. Yeah, that has not changed. But it's just like when I bring Chef Will. You know what I'm saying? Chef Will is going to eventually start showing recipes and dishes for fish, for chicken, for all of those things, right? We are primarily plant-based, right? But if I put up a video, respectfully, if I put up a video and 100 people watch that video on my channel, maybe 15 of those people are vegans. Maybe 15 of those people are vegans. The vast majority of the people watching eat fish, they might eat chicken, some of them eating pork and beef, right? So we have to help everybody because everybody has the heart disease. Everybody has the brain disease. Everybody's dealing with the blood sugar and the high blood pressure. So we have to be able to meet people where they at. And so I would much rather you have spirulina than, you know, like not have anything, right? I would much rather you have spirulina than not have anything. You know what I'm saying? But the chlorella is there and they both the same price. I didn't like do nothing weird with the prices or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of people that take both. They take the spirulina and they take chlorella. So they have the option. You know what I'm saying? And then the other thing is, and we spent a lot of time talking about it, there's a serious vitamin K deficiency, right? There's a very serious vitamin K deficiency and it's growing, right? Vitamin K is one of those things that we're missing because of the way our food supply is set up. So even with people learning about food as nutrition, it doesn't mean that food is going to be able to, unless you know what you're looking for and how to navigate, right? So spirulina is a particularly rich source of vitamin K, right? And vitamin K is what's needed for atherosclerosis and mitochondria function, you know, and people who might be dealing with, you know, pre-cancer, post-cancer, people who are cancer survivors that want to prevent it from coming back. A lot of, you know, you need that vitamin K. It's crucial. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so we just got it. We, you know, how the saying go about your gun, you know what I'm saying? It's better to, what is it? It's better to not need it and have it than it is to need it and not have it. You know what I'm saying? So it's there, it's available. You know what I'm saying? And it's something that's easy. You could feed it to the children, you know, whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? We got the chlorella there and the spirulina there. So you don't have to, you know, because omega-3 is wildly expensive right now. Wildly expensive. To get high quality omega-3 is crazy. To get high quality omega-3 is crazy right now. Nope. They actually just call it blue-green algae. So that's the category of algae they try to put it in. You often don't even see spirulina categorized as a cyanobacteria unless you look for it. Usually they'll just put spirulina as blue-green algae. You know what I'm saying? But it's not that deep. The nutrition profile from one to the other is not going to change that dramatically. Yeah. Which is all we care about at the end of the day. Yeah, which is all we care about at the end of the day. What am I getting? What am I getting and how much it costs? Right? What am I getting and how much it costs? Right? All right, so I skipped cannabinoids. Right? I skipped cannabinoids. Right? But I didn't skip cannabinoids. Cannabinoids is like a hybrid of terpenoids and phenolics, right? So they're like a molecule in between, right? So I skipped cannabinoids. but it's in the book, right? Unified standing wave conclusion. Across all these classes, the classical language of atoms, bonds, and reactions can be replaced by a single physical statement. Plant compounds are stabilized standing wave architecture built from phase-locked electron resonances interacting with carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen field lattices. I'm going to read that again, right? Because that is the primary premise of our book, right? That is the primary premise of our book. And it may seem like in the short term, it complicates things because people are used to learning things one way. But it actually simplifies the entire field of science when you learn it from a wave standpoint as opposed to the particle standpoint, right? So I'm going to read that again. This is on page 93. Unified standing wave conclusion. Plant compounds are stabilized standing wave architectures built from phase-locked electron resonances interacting within carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen field lattices, right? What am I saying specifically? We know an atom is composed of standing waves, the electrons. We know each atom is differentiated by what? The amount of protons. Well, the amount of protons determines the amount of electrons, right? Hypothetically, right? Because we know electrons get removed and other stuff happens. But so you have in a hydrogen, you have 1 electron, right? In oxygen, you have 8. Carbon, you have 6. You know what I'm saying? Like, so each one, right? These are stabilized standing waves, right? 8 stabilized standing waves make up oxygen, right? 6 make up carbon, right? So when you understand that, it makes the rest of your chemistry make more sense. The reason why science did not go this way initially is because, again, 1765. Pigment came into the scene all the way at the end. Pigment came into the scene in 1962, 1965, right? 200 years later. 200 years later. So the understanding of resonance between pigments and standing waves and all that's happening now in the 2000s. So we're in the future in terms of the information, right? We are in the future in terms of the information, right? All right. Plant DNA. Now we on.
These recipes all look crazy.
Yeah. And I'm definitely grateful to collab with Ink. Like, he's been, sort of like a silent mentor, kind of like, guiding me through a lot of these different processes, and, me reaching out to him. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? So that's just a testament to, a lot of information that, I gathered from him and other people.
Lamar, don't take my word for it. Stalin, Society Baby, Dead Stop, Madman, Jeremiah. Thanks to the whole chat.
It's not just kitchen chemistry. You gotta add chemistry in the kitchen. And well cooking. Yeah. Osborne, Politic, Kev, Brian, Amber, on your speaker. Peyton, Andrew, you know the life. Kyle D, Long Beach Nights, on Christ. Nobody else is this night. So good it's almost a fight. So good it's almost a fight. So good it's almost a fight. nights like nobody else. Right in the fear, look, Paul top shelf. It's nothing new, you can tell me. I live off love, shout out to Helvy. I believe in God, it's really natchez. 20 years later, we're Philly natchez. 100 packs popping, studying detoxing. Live on YouTube, new books dropping. We yelling, add your game, 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 add your game. Osborne, and for politica, can't buy I'm your speaker. Peyton Andrew, you know the life. Kyle D, Lauren P. Snipes. On Christ, nobody else is this nice. So good it's almost a vibe. So good it's almost a vibe. Z still with us. Mun still with us. Tiff still with us. Hey, this what consistency get us. The golly, I'm in Robert Cardi. Hot one, we stylin'. It feel good to see Jamal Allen. Do it, Rashawn. Make me feel like LeBron. Hey, I'm telling you, chat, that's the topic. I see the life fiber optic. Levin has got it. It's real. I give thanks for tuning in. It's soon to win. Make sure you're doing him. Oh yeah, make sure you're doing him. Make sure you're doing him. We yelling out your gang, 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 out your gang. Bars, and wet. Yeah, boy. Yeah, well, I Osborne, M4, politica. Kev, Ride, Amber, you speaker. Peyton and Andrew, you know the life. Kyle D, Lauren P. Snipes. On Christ, nobody else is this nice. So good it's almost a vibe. So good it's almost a vibe. Mark Hill and Jalen's. Family, friends, they wanna see me make ends. Help me drop a bestseller, recognized as a trendsetter. Through the stormy weather, still applying pressure. Yeah, blue magic netches, my bitter netches, my monthly detox getters. It's about waves we flowing. You already know where we going. Double back 100 packs from the ocean. They potent. Push up, peak, calisthenic cow, 60 and 60, getting busy. We got YouTube in a frenzy with no views. Me and my old crew in syndication, off information. Your veterans, veteran. Second season of medicine, time to talk red again. Bars, wham, wham. Osborne, M4, Paul and Tika, yeah, Kev, Ride, Amber. I'ma your speak, Peyton and Andrew, you know the life. Kyle D, Lauren P. Snipes. On Christ, nobody else is this night. Say, so good it's almost a vibe. Say, so good it's almost a vibe.
Let's go, man. You already know this for the family, man. Listen, and this is not for the Patreon family. Okay, this is not for the Patreon family. This is not for the book family. This is just a video for the live chat. All right, for the live chat. And I know for a certain fact that I done missed somebody's name, or I got your name, but I just couldn't fit it into a bar. You know what I'm saying? So don't think I forgot about you. You know what I'm saying? If you're not in the bar, Mike. It's not possible for me to miss Mike Carter, right? High Frequency TV, Inner Beauty, Steve, Regina, Smacknificent, Tyrese. You know what I'm saying? So it just, Bayot, Derek, DA, you know what I'm saying? Like, the whole Hotepistan, Jack, a.k.a. Viking Hotep. Jack, I almost forgot. Jack, I was trying to find what Viking Hotep. Anyway, moving forward. Supreme, 77 figures, Sam, Sauce, Ears to the Street. You know what I'm saying? King Lemuel, you know what I'm saying? Just the people that get in the chat. You know what I'm saying? This is really just for the chat. This is for the chat family. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my guy from Philly who likes to, you know what I'm saying, Black Hand and all, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
So this is just for the chat, because